What's up, y'all? We are live. This is Daryl Thrower of Thrower Bullies. Looks like we are live on YouTube and also on Facebook and also in the Facebook Giant XL American Bully Breed group. We have a special guest coming on tonight to talk about her accomplishments in the show ring. I'm switching earpieces, so let me know if all of a sudden you guys can't hear me. But we're going to speak on her accomplishments in the show ring. We are also going to speak on the importance of health testing and also the importance of having contracts, breeder contracts. So remember, if you are on Facebook, it's 50-50 on whether I will be able to see your comments. More than likely won't be able to see who you are. So the best thing is to cross over to YouTube. That way I can see you. If you just plan on watching, then it's really no big deal. But other than that, and it looks like she is here. Let me go real quick. Heather, what's up?
Hi, how are you?
Doing good. How you doing?
Good. I was trying to stalk you so I could see comments because I can't see them now. So I'm relying on you.
No problem. So yeah, that's what I did want to make sure, because I was talking health testing. If people have questions in the comments, that you are cool with that and giving them the information that you have.
Yeah.
But before we get into the breeding contracts and the importance of that, and health testing and the importance of that, you are, as a lot of people know, one of the owners of my favorite XL American Bullies, Prince Charmer. And how did you get into bullies? Were you doing something before that? Because from what I see, he's the most accomplished XL American Bully there is right now, as far as awards in the conformation ring. And there's a bunch of other stuff I don't even know the meaning of. So, how did you get into bullies?
It's actually kind of funny because I was dating somebody who was into dogs. Year and a half in, we separated. During that relationship, I was actually the one who was caring for them. I was doing everything. 1000% a fur mom, though. I didn't know a damn thing about anything other than that I loved the dogs. But he wanted to breed. That's what he wanted to do. He wanted to raise a show kennel, and there was a ton of money to be made in this. Well, a year and some change had gone by, and we never did anything.
Right.
But when we separated, none of the dogs were doing anything for him. I moved out. And I got weird phone calls that the dogs weren't eating. Hazel, Prince's mother, wasn't eating for him. She was starting to get aggressive when he'd come in and out of the house because she doesn't know you. So he eventually ended up signing over Hazel and Bam Bam, Prince's father, and our first production together, really mine, but whatever. Their first production, Prince's sister, Blessing. And then I had Ninjetta, who was my pocket. She's supposed to be a pocket, but she's really just about a standard. She just recently passed away a couple months ago.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that because I don't want to be crying on live. Thanks, though.
I feel you.
So he signed over all those paperwork, and that's all of a sudden I went from having 2 mutts to now I have like 7 dogs in the house, and we got to do something because I can't have 7. Well, now 5 at the time of them pit bulls. That can't happen. So they got to be doing something. So I decided to pick up where things never took off at. So that's where it started.
Got you. So you already intended on getting into the show ring. So, and you produced Prince Charmer.
I did.
Okay. So were you showing his parents or one of the parents or?
No.
Oh, not at all. Okay.
No, not at all. That was the goal when me and my ex were together. That was the goal, is we were going to produce something to then show, because we didn't want to, well, for him, I can't say we, but I was on board with it. So it was kind of we. At the time, we didn't want to give somebody else's kennel the clout. So we bought, I mean, we bought adult dogs. So we have to produce something of our own to then move forward. But
There
he
you
was
go.
just collecting dogs, and I don't have time for that. I'm impatient. I need something now. I can't be collecting other people's stuff, and I don't like it. I don't like it.
Right.
Yeah. Then when we separated, that's where it was, and it actually, I wish I knew back then what I know now. Oh, things would be
Don't we
so
all?
different. So different. Um, we went to a couple. I took Prince to a couple ABKC shows, just kind of like check out the competition. Prince was like 1 at the time, but I hadn't entered him yet. And it wasn't until Man-Made Kennels was doing a contest for their bully. I don't know. I don't remember what it's called. Their electrolyte stuff. I don't even remember what it was, but they were looking for a sponsor for it.
Okay.
And so they were running a contest. Enter your dogs. This contest was going. Oh my god! It feels like it went forever. It was like 9 weeks long, and whoever won the contest would be the new mascot. They were gonna, print your dog's picture on this.
Got you.
This is really gonna drive me crazy that I don't remember what it was called. Sorry, Eddie. But yeah, Prince for I don't know, probably 4 weeks of that was number 1. So in the contest, there were like, I don't even know, 100 something dogs in there competing. So people had to vote every day for who their favorite dog was, who they wanted to see. And then at the ABR show in Delaware is where they were going to announce the winner. Well, Prince ended up coming in second. I think there was some foul play, but I'm just saying, I think some but whatever. But it wasn't until we went to the ABR show. It was crazy there. Crazy. I didn't even stay that long while we were there. But I happened to run into Eddie again at an ABKC show in New Jersey. And he asked if Prince was there, if I was going to show him. Now, I still hadn't shown Prince at this point. We just went and we were hanging out, which is what I talk about now. Because now I run my mouth a lot about don't go to the shows and just hang out, enter your dog. Because I've been there, so I can bullying.
Right.
Yeah, somebody said it. Bullying. That's it.
Okay. So that was in, or what is it? Man-Made Kennels.
Yeah,
Okay.
And they still have it. I think they still sell it. I'm not. I'm no good sponsor. Sorry, I suck. But yeah, it wasn't until that New Jersey show I saw Eddie. He asked me if I was entering Prince. I told him I didn't have a handler and I didn't know what I was doing. I'm someone who doesn't like not having control in situations. I don't like leaving my comfort zone. And he introduced me to our first handler, Bobby Human, who took Prince in. We did clean sweeps and showed 2, 3, and 4. And that's when the addiction bit. That's all it takes. You get those first blue ribbons and then your majors of your best male, best XL, and you're addicted. That's exactly how it happens. But yeah.
So what made you I mean, because even looking at, so for instance, when you say Prince is not just champion, but grand champion, and one of the things I know
grand champion, you better put that
dual grand champion, exactly, dual grand champion. Yeah. So dual meaning 2 different registries.
Yes.
Correct. Okay, so he's UKC grand champion.
Emerald grand champion, which is a step.
Now, what is Emerald? That's what I was going to ask you.
So in UKC, they have different tiers to grand. So once you grand champion in like ABKC, it stops there. So the only place you can go after you grand champ is just to keep running for the top 10 to be the number 1 bully in ABKC.
Got you.
Which you still can do at any point. If you're winning breeds, you're in top 10. And that's in any registry. That's just how it works. But in UKC, once you get to grand champion, there's 5, I think, additional tiers that you can go to. Emerald is the next step. So that's like a second, there's champion, grand, emerald, ruby. I don't remember all, but it ends at diamond. It ends at diamond, sapphire, and something else, and then diamond. So, yeah.
Okay. So, and
yes, Robert.
ABKC, he is, and actually, you sent it to me, so I want to read this off. Ready?
Okay.
He is UKC Emerald Grand Champion, champed out at one event.
Facts.
First XL to accomplish the Emerald title. 2020's top 10 American Bully. And then you put number 5. So he was number 5.
Yep.
Then 2020's top 10 Companion, number 7. 2019's top 10 American Bully, number 7. Best of the Best recipient.
So that's when all the best in shows compete against each other. So if there's
and that's shows, other breeds, correct?
Nope. That's yes, it could be. It could be at a UKC show. It could very well be whoever won best in show could have been a Great Pyrenees. It could have been a Dogo. Right. Anyone who showed up and won a best in show. However many shows there were at that event. So if there were 4, 6, 8 shows, there would be 8 grand best in shows in the lineup, considering one new one, right? And then the judges all, those 4, 6, 8 judges, whatever it is, all congregate and pick one dog that is considered the best of the best. So it's a fun title. It doesn't mean anything, but it does at the end of the day.
It says a lot. It says a lot. Exactly. Right. And then multiple best in shows, multiple reserve best in shows, multiple companion group 1s, multiple best of breeds. Wow.
You're going to be here a long time.
Yeah, SWAT UKC's equivalent of K9 Good Citizenship title. So you haven't just been doing confirmation shows with Prince.
Correct. Yeah, we did. We dipped our toe in the obedience. So
there
that's
you go.
The first step.
And then BRC. Go ahead.
Go ahead. You're good.
Okay, so BRC Global XL Grand Champion, 2021's Nationals Best Breed winner. 2021's top 10 XL, number 1.
Yeah, he's number 1 currently right now.
And multiple best in shows, multiple best of breeds. ABKC XL champion, point towards Grand Champion, or pointed towards Grand Champion. Multiple best of breeds. BBCR XL champion, champed out at one event. Multiple best of breeds. 40 points from TBKC's first champion.
We can't even brag about that, but I'm going to throw it out there.
First best in show recipient, multiple best in shows, multiple best of breeds. There basically is no other XL doing all this. I was never into shows, but as we were watching, we took a year at some point, my cousin and I, before getting into bullies, we started looking at the dogs, and everything gravitated towards Facebook. And we jumped on Facebook. I had not been on social media for 5 years, any form of social media. And it wasn't on purpose. It just kind of happened that way.
Yeah.
My cousin hit me up about getting into bullies. Everything kind of gravitated towards social media. Next thing you know, I'm back on social media. I realized how insane the bully world was.
Right.
So I made a new page and got involved in the bully world, started making posts. And Prince Charmer was like that dog that just stood out to me. And I know everybody has their preferences and everything, but to me, he represented what the dog should be. And I get the preferences, but I always look at preferences as that's your human aspect.
Right. Yes.
What would the dog prefer to be? And that's a question that I've always held off on, was waiting till 2022. And that's going to be my new argument with people online is, okay, that's what you like. What do you think your dog as a dog would prefer to be, though?
Yeah, absolutely.
And when I look at it and I watch what dogs do, whether it's working, protection, hunting, whatever, I have a good idea of what every breed would prefer they look like, but still be their breed. Prince Charmer to me represents that. You know what I mean? He's got the size, he's got the thickness, he's got the neck, he's got the head, he's got the bone, but he also has legs to go along with his. He's
got them deer legs. Sorry, guys.
And that's what they always, they always throw that out there, and you figure, and I get it. you know, it's not their preference. They want the shorter leg dog.
Yeah.
But again, I'm a person, I have a long torso, lower legs, shorter legs. I blame it on my mom. You know
We're
what I
not going to
mean?
function the same. So if you know
Exactly.
that.
You
I mean,
know,
I'm 5'9". I'm a tall female. So like I'm not going to function the same as the 5'5" chick. It's just not going to happen.
exactly. And I would prefer another, you know, 2 inches on my legs. That way I could be 6 foot like everybody else. You know, instead I'm at 5'10". You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And my wife would tell you I'm not 5'10", but I'm 5'10". And the dogs are the same way because they're the ones constantly moving. I'm just thinking
Absolutely.
about my image. They have no concern with their image. They would prefer to be able to start their run off faster, maintain
Yep.
their run at
Yep.
a longer momentum. When you get into the bully world, you've got Prince Charmer, all these accomplishments. Do you, and you hear what people say, most of them who happen to be haters, do you
They feed
do
me.
you
I
kind
love
of want
them.
to I'm kind of the same way. I feel you.
Yeah. I love
Do
it.
you do you get annoyed, but then look at your dog and say, you know what, he backs it up? Like, how do you deal with all his accomplishments and his look? How do you deal with those who hate? Do you feel maybe I can on his next breedings I'll shorten it? Are there any? How do you go forward looking at his accomplishments, but then the preferences, mostly in the ABKC world? How do you deal with
Only in
that?
the ABKC world.
Only in the ABKC
Yeah.
world. How do you look at that when you're thinking about your breedings, dogs you may stud him out to, things like that?
So I've always been pretty open with the fact I do want to shorten him up. There's things I want to fix on him.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know exactly how tall he is. I was never one who cared how tall,
Right.
how much he weighed, so I just never have actually wicketed him. I've done like a lame job of, holding the measuring tape while he's sort of standing.
Seeing where
Like,
you walk by at.
yeah, basically. I say I know he's over standard because we compete with dogs that have been wicketed and are very public about how tall they are, and we're taller than them. So he is over
Gotcha.
standard. That's all I can tell you. He's over standard. So I would like to bring him down at least 2 inches. I think the perfect XL for a show dog is probably in that 22.5, 22 flat range.
It's kind of what I've noticed. Yeah.
So, and I'm okay with that. I like my dog tall. I like this, I like the leg. I'm a leggy female. I like legs. So there's things I do want to fix. I definitely I want to get his rear stronger in general. But like I'll be completely honest, I will never breed to what our GrCh shows. That won't happen. I
I
will
got you.
add little things here and there to bring out a better head and bring out better chest spread, and I will add things here and there, but it's just not that's not why I got into the breed. Why I got into the breed, why I like them, and why I chose XLs was because of dogs like Purple Rose of Cairo. That was my, and then Pokemon. So yes, standards, I get it, but that's not those dogs wouldn't win today. And it's sad to think that. And that's, it just is what it is. Remy, classic. I just don't think he would win now in a ring. In fact, everyone on the boards that talks the most shit would have a lot to say about him today. Not knowing.
Right. They love him, but they're not thinking in the fact that your preference has changed without you even realizing it.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. So, there's things we're going to change. Absolutely. This breeding that God, we're praying for was focused on sporting. I want to get into sporting performance things. And then I'll worry about changing things more for show again. But we've done shows for 5 years. I'm comfortable there. I do feel like I need to get out more. I need to stretch that more than a toe into the water. So I do want to try it. I want to be a Brittany Burns. I want to try a little bit of everything sporting performance.
A little bit of everything.
And get that out there. Yeah. So that's what
shout out to Brittany.
Yes, Brittany. That's the MVP right there.
Yes. Yes. So and so now, what would you say? Here's I'm just gonna say it. When I read the standard of the ABKC, other than the little bit that they give about the temperament of the dog, zest for life, exuberant willingness to please, those are things that I think are great. But I also think most breeds have that. I think the only thing that separates the ABKC standard from other breeds is they are focused on no animal aggression, no human aggression, which I
But
think,
are they
is
really?
great. Exactly. You know what I mean? They at least verbalize it in the standard.
Right.
They at least
But they also
verbalize
say
it.
things in the code of ethics that, aren't being pushed. So
They don't necessarily stick with.
It's a legality. That I think at the end of the day, it's a legality. Where we want to see things going and what's actually being pushed is not the same. And that's fine. Everybody has their preference to how they want to do things and how you interpret things. But 2 + 2 doesn't equal 4 in this situation.
Got you. And real quick, don't forget your thought. For people in the comments, this is right now focused on Heather, her accomplishments. We're going to get to breeding contracts and the importance. We're also going to get to health testing. So that I don't have to scroll back. This isn't going to be one of those 3-hour lives we always do, you guys, where I scroll back, make sure all the comments have been read and the questions are answered. This is, so basically my point is, hold off on questions you have. If you made a question, hold off. I'm going to let you guys know. Let's have some questions. And then, then we'll go from there. And that way you guys can get your questions in, because I know it's going to be a lot of questions with, genetics and the whole health testing thing. And I have none of those answers for you. That is going to be a lot of Heather. So, but this isn't going to be like the normal 3-hour lives that we do. So where were we at? You were saying
standard.
Oh, that the standard. Oh yeah. So we're talking about the standard. Now, when you go to the UKC, they leave out any mention of dog aggression, lack thereof, or dog. They just basically say the dog shouldn't be vicious. They
no human aggression.
So it does say no human aggression. Yeah. Okay. So that's right. But as far as animal aggression, that is left out. There's nothing that's mentioned in it other than just
it does say now that I'm on the spot, I don't remember. I think it does say, because the UKC standard is one of the only ones that still mentions their high resemblance to their pit bull background.
Yes, so they do acknowledge that.
Can be there, but human aggression is absolutely not accepted, which it shouldn't be. Okay, in our breed, it shouldn't be. So
exactly. Okay. And they also, in UKC, it's almost like they make a point of mentioning this dog, this breed, should be able to compete in events. They have an expectation. Now, years ago, I was on a live with she competes, I forget her name, but she competes in UKC. And she was stating that when we were talking about the differences, she was stating that, well, UKC is sending judges to ABKC shows.
That's true.
To get an idea of what the breed should look like.
I don't know if they're sending them, but the judges are indeed going to events because they want.
Okay, that's a good clarification.
Yeah.
Do you think that at some point UKC will possibly adapt to more the ABKC look, or do you think they will hold their ground?
So first of all, everyone needs to understand that no changes can or will be made in UKC until we have a national breed club. And because we don't
really?
Yes. So and that's just the way it works in any breed. So there's a few things that we still need. You need 40 years of consistency. You need your national breed club. And that realistically should be ABKC. That should be our breed club.
I agree. Because they operate as a registry and they also kind of operate. And that's why people knock the ABKC. They knock Dave Wilson. My thing is, I don't know anything about the past. I look at it, like I'm a clean slate, whatever it is. And all I see is a man and a registry that is forced to do way beyond just keeping track of our paperwork.
Facts.
They're trying to tell us how to breed the dog, and that's not an easy position for them to be in as a
It
registry.
could be, because every other registry does it. So I just think ABKC has so much potential, and I've had this conversation on one of your lives before when Raul and Danny were on it, that if they just tightened up on certain things and added some things, one, it would create jobs, but it would clear up a lot. It just in general, it just really would, because you need a legal department. By the way, you need a mediation department, 1000%, because of the community in general. So it's not necessarily bad, or, you know, the community is crap, even though sometimes it is.
It's crap. It's crap. I'm not saying the registry, but the online Facebook community is crap.
Right. And realistically, like, the people that I talk to get my registration shouldn't have to answer me questions about showing. There should be different departments. UKC has a whole, and I can only say UKC because that's our next major registration that runs like a legit business. So that's why I compare the two. They are vastly different. If you've been to those two, I do highly encourage people to go. Just go, leave your dog in the car and go check it out if need be, not in the heat. Just like if you don't leave your dog out to the show, to show at the UKC event, just go and watch. It's just a completely different scene. The people are different. The stuff you're going to learn is different. The critiques you get are going to be different. So it's just how it runs on time. They do not play around. If it says that the show is starting at 8:30, at 8:29, people are lined up outside the show's ring to go in. We don't want to disrespect the judge. We don't want to disrespect the hosts, the club that's hosting it. You know, it's just, it's a nicer event. It's a little more tight, you know, but not that yet. So, but I promise it's going to be, you know, it's worthwhile to go.
Got you.
But anyway, they have all of those different people that you would talk to for different things. There's a legal department. There is people that you can talk to about registration and your own little issues that pop up when you're breeding and a client goes bad or business goes bad, whatever. You can talk to them about things where that's not necessarily the registry's issue. They're not a court of law. So if you and me have a business dealing that goes left and I tell you, well, I'm going to call ABKC and they're going to pull those papers. Well, chances are they're not, just so everyone's aware. You have to prove. The only way that a registry can pull your papers is realistically if your ethics are questioned. So you were paper hanging, something was wrong, but like the empty threats kind of, they don't control that. So they
don't get involved in that. Exactly.
Right. And you're putting a lot of pressure on them to do that. So it's just, you know, I just think if they tightened up and added some things, one, you would bring in a shit ton more money because the people who are now UKC, they don't want to come over here because of all the shenanigans in the community in general, would now come over. And those people are spending money. They're spending money to go to the UKC premiere and the cluster shows where there's 8, 10, 12 shows and multiple performance things. That needs to be introduced. You want a dog that has a zest for life and eager to please, but all we offer is conformation. Like,
right. Exactly. I agree 100%. So when it comes to that, you got Prince Charmer, you get involved in the show ring, he's successful. What made you, because when I think of contracts, I think of Heather. And just so everybody knows, if you're dealing with breeding, you got breeding contracts, you need some breeding contracts, check out Heather. She has contracts that she offers to people. What made you, was there a specific situation you got caught up in?
Of course.
Okay.
That's always when contracts are needed, when something went left. You didn't have it. And that's the problem. The wording in something, there was a loophole. So I'm a paralegal by trade. That's literally my job. Contracts are my job. So my job is looking for loopholes. That's what I do.
Bam, exactly.
So I think I did my first outside breeding with a friend. She was a good friend. And the original deal was to get a puppy back. Obviously, I'm not breeding to pet home everything. I want something back that you can continue showing or doing whatever with. And shortly after puppies were born, things were going left. She wasn't answering questions. We couldn't agree on things. And then that turned into, so I've come to the conclusion that like I could make more money if I just sell them all instead of giving the co-own to you.
Right. Got you.
So I ended up not signing puppy registration. So Prince has, I think, 7 kids out there that I don't even know where they are. Well, I'm lying. I know where 2 of them are, but I don't know where the others went. So, and that makes you tighten up your contract because that was totally my fault. That shouldn't have even been allowed. That shouldn't have been a thought in her head. We had agreed to something. And I, live and learn.
Exactly. So do you find that most of the people that come to you for contracts, do you feel that they're on point, like they're, my first breeding, let me get a contract from Heather, or is it they've been through something and then that's when they start thinking, okay, contracts, we need to get contracts? Because I'll be honest with you, we had an issue that caused me to realize, okay, we need contracts. You know what I mean?
And everybody does. So you may not have. I've been in this 20-something years, never had a problem. It's a handshake deal, blah, blah, blah. If I can't trust you, I don't want to do business. And I get that. And it's been going good for 20 years. But guess what? It's not always going to. And that one time that it catches up to you is going to really suck. Because you've gotten away with it for so long, there's going to be a big one. And it's
something's going to happen.
Right.
Exactly.
But yeah, most of my clients are, but realistically, it's both. I think because I have a good reputation in the bully community for the contracts with breeders. So they'll tag me in something when someone's first looking. So, but I do frequently get the new people that are saying, hey, you came highly recommended. I'm doing this. Can you tell me what I would need or how I should say that or whatever? So it is kind of 50-50.
Okay. So you guys make sure to, the contracts are important. We've all been in situations. Make sure that you do, hit up Heather. She's got multiple types of contracts to cover various
I've got more
situations.
contracts than you can even think of that you would think of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So next, health testing.
Yes. Let's do it.
Okay, here we go. So first, I'm going to put myself on blast. And I come from a very old school mentality. Working dogs, pushing them, sometimes learning not to push them beyond their limits. And I guess
test.
part of it is...
We're going to talk about your test.
We're going to talk about my test.
Yeah.
And part of it is I've never had issues with dogs. Now, I've always had my dad, my uncle, other dogmen, people to bounce things off of before grabbing, and picking the dog. I've never had issues of, from Rottweilers to Pit Bulls, Bull Lurchers, now bullies. I've just never had issues. And so it was never something I felt I needed to worry about. I would hear about it going on. I saw online it was becoming more and more popular. And then finally, what did Rob say? Wasn't that her dog?
Yeah, I hate that this one keeps popping up. I did say yes, but he didn't get beat up. I mean, he did. He did. He did.
We'll pay Rob no attention. We're gonna remove Rob from being on screen. Yeah. But I always looked at it as it was something other people who needed to do who weren't doing things with their dogs.
Like
if I noticed, exactly. So if I notice something, then I know, like, I don't have a problem not breeding a dog. So therefore to me, it was not an issue. We got involved in bullies. First thing I told my cousin was, okay, this was your idea. and I'm noticing a lot of bulldog traits.
Mhm.
And not only am I noticing, and I'm a big believer when it comes to dogs, body follows mind, mind follows body.
Yep. Yep.
And I notice a lot of bulldog traits. I also notice a lot of bulldog mentalities, and I noticed a
Mm.
push for both the traits and the mentality.
Mhm.
So to me, it screams health issues.
Yeah.
Because you puppies need to move. If they lack drive, they don't move the way they should.
Yep.
People forget about these things, and so I looked at it like, okay, we'll go ahead, and we were very picky. We knew that we wanted King. A lot of people knocked us because he was such a huge dog,
Mhm.
and what we never told anybody was we don't plan on breeding double XLs. The reason we need a King is he gives us the room to breed for what we're looking
Yep.
for without
Absolutely.
falling into the standard class.
Yep.
And that was our whole mentality behind King. So if people notice, our females aren't huge. King is huge.
Mhm.
So my thing when it came, then I started looking at the breed, and I started the health testing got more and more popular, and it became a thing of, okay, do we need to do this? So then my thing was, okay, let's do what we're doing, and then
Mhm.
before we start doing any line breeding or inbreeding, we'll get to where we want to get with temperament. We'll get to where we want to get with structure.
Mhm.
Before we start doing any line breeding and any inbreeding, then we'll do health testing.
Yep.
What is the problem with that philosophy?
So I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with that mentality. However,
Okay.
your
Remember you said
mentality.
that.
But there is a but. There is a but.
Okay. Hit me with it.
We do have to remember that not everyone has your knowledge and experience. So everyone can't have that mentality. So just because your daddy and granddad and great uncle were all in dogs and doing this and doing shit backyardish doesn't mean that they actually know what's going on. And at the end of the day, there is no test that you can perform that's going to show you what the joints look like. So,
Gotcha.
I mean, so you yourself said you just look at realistically how the dog is performing. So,
Correct.
Prince is your dog, right? No
Right.
titles, no nothing. Take me completely out. Are
Okay.
you breeding him?
Yes.
Why?
If he one, I'm gonna okay. That's a perfect question. So I have Prince. First thing, skip the whole temperament thing. Let's just go into the physical. So what I would be doing is taking him to the rabbit field, watching him, and this is going to be probably a year and a half, 2 year process.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. He's cutting, he's moving good, he's efficient in his movement. Now we're at home. We're going to run the flirt pole. I'm going to push him. We're going to do hill runs. We got a big hill by our house, which I'm mad when we move next year. It won't be near me. And I've had this hill for 15 years. But we're going to be doing hill runs. We're going to get back home. We're going to push you. And when you get to that point where your drool starts turning into foam, I'm going to let you relax.
Yeah.
And once you relax, I'm going to call you to me. Just I want to see how you move now.
Yeah.
Because and I used to work with greyhounds, and we used to have to get them rub downs and everything to feel their joints, and you kind of got to dig your fingers in between and see how they react. So I'm going to be doing after he's relaxed and the adrenaline is gone, I'm going to be doing all these things, and then I'm going to say after about 2 years of doing this off and on, I'm going to say, yeah, he's ready to breed. Where am I wrong?
So now guess what?
Go ahead.
Prince's mild, which is failing, health scores on his hips.
Okay.
So his left hip has subluxation in it. So technically,
does this show when he's running? And
no, you see him. I mean, now bring me back in.
Exactly.
Now we gotta bring this because now that's where it's relevant. Like Prince is seen on a very clear live at BRC Nationals, moving beautifully. Still to this day.
Not just moving.
So he's
not
running.
just moving, but
yes.
Okay, so he's running. Okay.
But I'm saying, so in general, we can still run. There's a big entertainment spot by me where they put on concerts and shit over here. So we frequently have him out there running the fields and chasing birds or whatever he feels like doing
There
at
you
that
go.
moment.
Okay.
But so I don't visually see anything. He doesn't have any issues with movement of any kind. But I have the x-rays where the hip joint itself doesn't line up right. So it should be full coverage like this.
Mm-hmm.
Like
exactly.
On mine, the comments are like covering my hands. So it should sit like this, nice and tight in there. But his joint looks more like, hang on, like this. So where this
I got
is
you.
the knot where your hip connects to the hip itself.
Got
so like
you.
here's my leg. This is my leg. Pretend this is my leg.
Right.
This part of the joint itself should sit nice and tight in there. Good coverage all around. But it's not. So essentially it's more like this. So all this is out on his left hip. So if we talk to the health testing snobs, well, in general, he will only be bred, now that I know that information, and I have the science to back that up, he will only be bred to females that have their hips done and have better scores than mild. So that's all I can do on my part. Now, I can also say, I didn't start learning about all of that until, we didn't start showing until Prince was just about 2. So I was 1000% a backyard breeder. I was raising my puppies in loose swimming baby toddler swimming pools, and I have all wood floors. They were running. I didn't know all of that stuff then. So I would like to, but not really think that it was me. It was the way that I raised that litter caused it. It's not necessarily genetic. I don't know all that. I would think it's more environmental because of the situations I put him in as a young puppy,
as a young pup. Developing. Exactly.
But I don't know that information. All I know is what I have now. So now we have to work from that and build off of that. And that's really all it is. Health testing in general is a tool. This is not an end all be all.
Right.
The fact that Anissa Shotbolt just did new graphics just a couple days ago, and I shared them. But in the OFA system, OFA, I always say OFA, and then people OFA, the Orthopedic Foundation for Animals, we only have like 250 American bullies in the hip x-ray database. 250, really? Not 1,000, not million, just 250. That's what we have.
So nobody's really doing it then.
Well. I don't know if they're not doing it or if they're not checking that box that says you could be submitted to be public. Because that's
got you. Okay. So when you say 250, somebody left a screen door open. When you say 250, so 250 doesn't mean that's the only amount of dogs that have been tested.
But we don't know. We don't know that.
This can be made public.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay, I didn't know that.
That's all public knowledge. So FYI, folks, you can look up, you can go onto OFA's website and look up any dog. If people are telling you that those dogs are health tested, fully health tested, OFA, blah, blah, you can look them up. And now if you don't see anything on there, then you can call them out. I'm just kidding. I'm not really though. Not really.
But you can ask more questions though.
Absolutely.
Because you didn't find them on there. You can say, okay, look, I looked this up. This is what you're saying. Yep. You're not on there. Is there some proof you can send me? Or why aren't you on there?
Send me those x-rays, please. Because now you know from this awesome little demo that I just did how the hip is supposed to look.
Right, exactly.
Really kidding.
So what things do, okay, now there's one, I'm asking about this specific one because I've heard you and Daniel Nunez talk about it. CRD4. Am I saying that correctly? Did I get the letters right?
Yep.
Okay, so CRD4. Okay, so CRD4 is, well,
also known as PRA. So
so explain what that is.
So there's actually 4 different eye diseases of sorts that are tested for in the bullies, but these are not specific to just the bullies. So the Embark kits, I use Embark, so forgive me, y'all. But when I talk health testing and genetic testing, I'm always just referring to Embark because that's all I know. There is Paw Print out there too, which is also a fantastic company. they're super reliable, but they're also super expensive. And
Paw
with them,
print.
you
Let's
want,
say so. Embark is good, but you're saying paw
paw
print is
print is
probably
definitely
better.
better.
Okay.
But you get more bang for your buck with Embark. So if something were to come up, and paw print, you have to buy each test individually. So it ends up being like $700 for a health testing kit.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's a little expensive. So what I would do if I was new and interested, I would be purchasing my kit through Embark, your breeder kit. Because you really do just get more bang for your buck. Not everything on there is super reliable. I don't know how much I trust the COI stuff with your coefficient of inbreeding. I don't know how much the DNA is sketchy. I don't know if I trust all that.
Right. Got you.
And even colors. I don't know. I don't know. Use UC Davis for color testing. But Embark, you want genetics. That's what you want, is just that swab in their mouth, send it out. Those, you can't change DNA. Like, that's never going to change. It can't really be faulted. Right. If the dog should come back with something, then I would look into purchasing that one test from paw print to retest and see if it comes back as carrier affected, whatever, with them as well.
Got you.
But
now the CRD4, is that something? So let's say it shows up on your test.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something where you just need to make sure that you don't breed to other dogs that have it? Or is that something that you don't have to worry about? You know, because I know with some dogs, there's things that affect some breeds, but don't necessarily affect others.
It's true.
What
so
are like the things that affect bullies?
Currently, CRD4 is not affecting bullies.
Okay.
There is,
even if two dogs with CRD4 bred together.
It's happening. Those breedings are still happening. Frequently. And I think the oldest bully that we know of right now that is a CRD4 affected dog. So there's 3 different versions of what your dog can be. So there's normal, which is what we want, clear. There's a carrier, which means that they carry one copy. You need 2. Just one though is a carrier of whatever disease it is. And the last one would be affected, which means 1000% your dog has it. They are going to show signs of it at some point, and they are going to pass it on to their offspring.
Got you.
So the oldest bully right now that is a known CRD4 carrier gets yearly eye exams, the Canine Animal Registry, eye registry, CAER.
Okay.
That's right. It. Yeah. Yearly exams, and there's been no change in her results. So she actually is still passing at 8 years old all of these yearly exams. She's part of a test, I think, for like a study of sorts for how the disease affects the bullies to move them forward. So as of right now, it doesn't affect them.
Got you.
You know, this is where the tool part comes in, because like Prince is an NCL carrier, which is a form of ataxia seizures. So with no issues. So at this point, AKC breeders would have neutered him because he's a carrier. So what's going to happen is we're guaranteed that he's going to pass that on to at least 50% of his offspring. Now, just because you're a carrier doesn't mean you're ever going to have a problem. You're just a carrier.
Got
you could, though. You could show symptoms of the disease. But you also may live a completely normal, happy life with no issues whatsoever, ever. So, but guess what?
So,
I'm a still breeder. I'm a still breeder.
Gotcha.
And if I got a puppy off of a litter that looks super dope, and I found out later from when I get the results, I've made my picks in my brain, even though I'm waiting for the health tests, and I have this one male or one female that I really, really like out of this litter, and I get their test results back, and guess what? They're a carrier too. I'm keeping it. I don't care. If that's the nicest dog, we can continue to try to breed it out. You know, so maybe we're just going to only breed it to clears, and you got to be upfront and know your information about what the disease is so you can let Others know. Breeders that you're going to work with, who you're the clients that are going to be buying from you. You have to let everybody know, be completely honest and transparent. But at the end of the day, the breed is so new to health testing. We are going to have dogs that are failing things. We're going to have subpar results, but we have to build that. So right now we're building the foundation of our houses in mud. we just are, unfortunately. But we have to build it because there's a tornado coming. I don't know, but you have to start somewhere, and that's really what it comes down to. So at the end of the day, it's a tool, and that's it. But you want to know that to make educated decisions to build your program better. And even if that, I'm still keeping it. I'm still keeping my failing score dog, and I'm gonna breed it because it has breed type and it looks really good and it passes all my tests. Okay. But now you have that decision to make that you're only going to breed it to a clear dog of this. And then you can continue to keep your fantastic dogs. But you have to just be educated with what we're picking. That's really all it comes down to.
Are there specific, well, I know there are. So what would you say are specific things that we as, I think hip issues, we kind of know it kind of come when you're dealing with mastiffs and bulldogs, you know, so it comes right into what we're dealing with. Are there specific genetic diseases that we see in the American Bully?
There's quite a few, actually. The CRD4 pops up a lot. We've already talked about that one. The hip issues. So I will say getting the hips tested is important, especially when you have like a breeding female, because bad hips are a problem, not only just for her, but that added weight when they're carrying puppies and then whelping and then, you know, laying on that side. So all those little things matter. So mild hips may not be horrible, but what would you do if you found out that your dog had severe hip dysplasia and you had a breeding setup? Like, this could kill your dog. It literally could kill the dog. So, and all the puppies, because she's not going to be able to deliver them appropriately and handle all that extra weight from being pregnant. So that's, you know, there's things that really do matter and are more important. So that severe, we're pet homing it. I don't care how nice that dog is. I have to pet home it because I can't do anything with it. Even in a male, it won't breed naturally, which, like, I'm not into exotics. So I don't want to rely on myself to breed my male that has severe hip dysplasia. You just couldn't do. I personally couldn't do it. So, you know, but everybody's different. I'm just saying there's real risks involved when you get higher up in those failing. But a mild, a carrier doesn't necessarily scare me as much as some other things do. Health, cardiac issues. There are a lot of dogs with heart murmurs.
I've heard that, and I've been seeing a lot of that where it's showing up in various dogs, and especially a lot of the dogs that we look at as legends in the breed is coming up from their offspring. You know, and unfortunately, we do have a lot of people who hear that, make excuses for it, and still want that out. They still want to be 10 times heart murmur. And you know what I mean?
It's not funny, but it is.
You have to kind of laugh at it. What do you think are specific breeds that we're getting these issues from, or do you think it's not necessarily the breeds, but just those so-called OGs not caring? And people get mad about it, but I often will tell people, a lot of the people we look up to in this breed, well, actually, not we, I don't look up to nobody in this, but a lot of the people that are looked up to in this breed, they really didn't know anything about dogs.
Well, the information wasn't out there, though. So let's put that out there, because I don't think that it's necessarily shaming OGs, because that information wasn't out there. And our breeds came from breeds that you didn't prove yourself in a show ring. Like, maybe.
Well, here's what I mean. Here's what I mean by that statement. I would, for instance, let's say I was first getting into this in the late 90s or whatever. I know me. And like now, the dogs are riddled with these things that we as new breeders coming into this, we've got to fix it. If I had started this if I had gotten into this in the late 90s, before there was ever an ABKC, and I've got my pit bull, and now I want to create these dogs that are later to be called an American Bully. I remember Rottweilers that look great. I remember Cane Corsos that look great. I remember American Bulldogs that look great. I remember English Bulldogs that look great.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have bred to a lot of the dogs that were bred to make this mix. You know what I mean? And to me, when you're doing that, you're looking at a dog that, you know, is extremely exaggerated, high rear, stiff stifles. You're asking for other things that come along with it.
Absolutely.
And now here we are, 2021, and we're still trying to clean up these things that really should have been cleaned up 15 to 20 years ago.
But the information wasn't out there then.
Okay.
So like the health testing stuff wasn't out there then.
True.
Even this for our breed. So remember, our breed was only just accepted into UKC not that long ago, 7 years ago now, 8 years ago, I think it's coming up on.
Yeah.
So, and that's not so long ago, but it also is still not that long ago. So we still have things that we're working towards. And think of it as ABKC was was formed almost 18 years ago, and we still don't have a standard book out that shows, like, you could Google any other breed right now, a German Shepherd, a Boxer, an Akita, and it's going to come up with like cartoon pictures of the dog in movement and why the hips have to look like this and what a balanced dog looks like. We don't have any of that in 18 years. So they just added health testing graphics that pretty sure they copied from Anissa, but I'm just saying. They just added a bully or dog to it, but I think that's where they got it from. But even like in the American Pit Bull Terriers, the only test that was run back then was for ataxia, and it's clearly documented on Bullypedia. If you keep clicking back, you're going to see quite a few that say ataxia clear or ataxia carrier. It was a super popular, that's where it came from. So, and then it goes into the AM staffs as well. So, you know, like there was only so much that you can do back then. So even 20 years ago, back then, it wasn't that long ago, but it was in the grand scheme of like that mentality. You guys should have been doing better, but it's a wow factor breed. Nobody was ever breeding to be at Westminster one day. That was never the goal, to have these super clean, correct. It has to look like this. It has to do that. It was always just, my dog is better looking than yours. It's wider than yours. It's got a better head than yours. Look at this. And that's just always how it's been. So, you know, it is what it is.
Got you. So, with the health testing, so you said some of the things that we do need to look out for. One of the questions I did notice is I know with
35 days.
2 years old. Okay, so 35 days.
35 days you can do genetic testing.
Gotcha.
Well, I'm lying. I'm totally lying. I jumped the gun. I got too excited about a question. Sorry. MBAR testing you can literally run as soon as they can be away from their mother or their litter mates for an hour. I think it's 45 minutes, but let's just say an hour. And this is only so that you're not getting genetics mixed up, saliva from anybody else. If they're feeding on mom or they're biting at their litter mate.
Okay, that makes sense.
Anytime. And it's a simple swab. You order the test online. It gets shipped right to your door. It's a simple, long cotton Q-tip that you swab the inside of their mouth, rub a little on their gums, put it in the tube, send it out. Super easy. So easy.
Got you. And then how long does it take for them to get that back to you?
That varies. I think their website says like 6 to 8 weeks. I've had, but like you set up an account when you register your kit, whatever, online. So they send you emails of that it's in shipping, it's gotten to the lab, it's in processing. They send you updates. So you're never like waiting for your paperwork, panicking, trying to call phone numbers. You do kind of are always in the loop of things.
Got you. Okay, so they keep in contact with you through email, letting you know when to expect everything.
Yeah.
And then once you received it, and it comes, I'm sure, with a list showing you everything that's showing up in your dog, or does it come with a list that just shows everything and says you don't have it?
So the American look, can you see this? I made notes so I don't forget to talk about anything today.
Okay, cool.
Don't tell my boss. This is what I did at work today. But I wanted to make sure that I covered everything and made it somewhat fun, but still educational when I was like telling people about it. So depending on the dogs that were used in your bloodline, right? So, some people have only American Pit Bull Terrier, Amstaff, Staffordshire Terrier, and American Bulldog. That's me. So we're just going to pretend that's where we're going from. But obviously there's lines that have Mastiffs and Cane Corsos and whatever, more Bulldog features. So there could be other tests that I don't necessarily know. But typically, Embark will test for over like 189 diseases. Not all of those diseases have anything to do with us. It just happens to run from common diseases.
So you're not actually, how would I say it? Is the test based on the breed that you have?
Yes. So you register your dog, but because this is still new, see, this is weird. Genetics are just weird. So they may have the cleft palate. Here's a good one, right? Okay. So the cleft palate gene that's tested in Embark is actually for the Nova Scotia. Why am I drawing a blank? I can't go any further than that. The Nova Scotia Taller Retriever, right? I think that's right.
Okay, the actual dog. Yeah.
But it comes up on all of our tests. Now, in my research, I haven't ever found another gene. Well, you can't tell me that that's the only dog that's ever had cleft palates.
Got you.
So I don't know if that specific one that's on here is relevant to us or not. And I also don't know how with, cleft palates it can happen in any breed, and it can happen for numerous different things, whether it's genetic, environmental, or just, congenital thing. It just happened. Mother Nature hated us that day. I don't know.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. There's certain things on here that the MDR1 is on here. That affects that same gene mutation affects every dog, but it won't show up in your 8, breakdowns on your list when you get it. So
got you.
It will when you print out the whole thing. But those things are just as important. So it is nice to look through to see what the other tests were that were on there, just to familiarize yourself with them. But we test for, and it's actually kind of stupid, 4 of the tests are eye diseases, retina issues. The CRD4, CRD2, those things. Degenerative myelopathy, that's a neurological disorder. That one would scare me a little bit. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Now, what is that?
So it's a neurological disorder that typically presents in older dogs, adult dogs, but it can happen anytime. It's basically the Lou Gehrig's disease of dogs.
Got you. Okay.
So, and it starts just like that. That's exactly how it will start. You'll start seeing your dogs get, gradual atrophy in their muscles. Usually their back limbs is where it starts. And it's not painful to them. It's not a painful disease, but they will eventually end up not being able to walk. So, those things are a little scary to even think about. There's a HUU. I don't know how to say the real disease. It's a lot of vowels and weird stuff. I don't know. HUU we're going to call it, but that's just like kidney stones, crystals.
Okay.
And that I think is more of a bulldog thing, but it does come up in all of our bully breeds. So it's not just a bulldog thing. And it is something that, if you find out that these are not necessarily life-threatening, it could be, but
got you.
it's kidney stones. It's kidney stones for us. So like if your
Got
dog
you.
pops up as a carrier or affected, like they're going to need lots of water. Going to need to keep them hydrated and watch their salt intakes.
And this is a genetic thing.
It is genetic, yes.
Wow.
Okay. And this is painful. It's a painful. So like these are the things that I want people to understand, that like some things don't necessarily affect your dog, but will. So like you're
right.
If you can't take care of them by just making sure that there's always fresh, clean water, and you're feeding them some kind of like natural treat that has celery, carrots, like something that's a watery base, so they're always
to help them with it. I'm constantly getting. Got
right.
you.
Right. Because stones can also create blockages, so that's where like now it's a vet bill for no reason.
Exactly.
There's another one. So 4 of them are the eye diseases, the urinary, this one I'm probably going to slaughter too. I'm horrible at this. It's like ichthyosis or something. ICHY, bunch of owls, SIS. I don't know. But that's a skin condition where the dog's skin literally looks like alligator skin. Red, swollen, brown. It'll be hot to the touch. It's painful for them. And it can happen super early, like 1 to 2 weeks old. And typically by like 6 weeks, you'll notice that like the stomach is red and swollen, flaky skin, that type of stuff. Feet, skin, like the pads of their feet can be thicker, that skin on their feet. Probably more yeast. They're going to be more prone to allergy issues. So like there's just things you want to look at and look out for, especially when you're buying. And the breeders aren't testing. There's things that you can just be paying attention to in the litter, basically.
Got you.
But yeah, and then the
So do you?
Oh, go ahead.
What was that?
Nope, go ahead.
Well, do you? So you have a litter of pups.
Mm-hmm.
Do you test? Or you were saying once they hit 35 days old, you can go ahead and have them tested. Do you test your whole litter? How do you go about that? Let's say you have. Do you wait till you know who you're picking? How do you go about doing the testing?
Me
or
personally,
do you just test the parents?
So there's a few different ways that you can do it. Me personally, because I know I have Prince who's a carrier, I'll be testing every puppy. So Praise is just for sake of this conversation, Praise is completely clear, no issues. All of her health scores with OFA are good, passing, fantastic. But I'm still going to be testing that whole litter because I know Prince being a carrier can pass that to 50% of his litter, of his offspring. So I have to test everybody to see what we're doing. And I don't know if that necessarily is going to affect where I place dogs. Right. But it could. There may be like I said, there may be a really, really nice male or female that I'm keeping right here. We're going to keep it. It's beautiful. And it's a carrier. We're going to deal with the same thing that I haven't dealt with anything, but like if something should pop up, I've done enough research that we're comfortable with it for the disease. So that's really
got you.
But if you test and both parents are clear, essentially all of those puppies clear in passing, basically normal. All of those puppies are essentially clear by parentage, so you wouldn't have to even test them, basically.
Exactly. Okay, so if the mom and dad pass with flying colors, then you pretty much know your litter is good.
Right. But
one of the parents, go ahead.
But for like future use, if that dog was going to be bred, I just think it's easier to test the whole litter anyway, even though they have that, because if you're going to sell it anyway, because I want to give you that paperwork because you're going to turn around and breed this male or female, whatever. And you're going to require, yes, you are. You're going to require that the mate of that dog is health tested as well. So if you
might
don't
as well have
the
the proof,
but you just know, at least you can show. Now you can show your buyers that here's here's moms, here's dads. Everybody passed. These puppies are clear by parentage, but we still ran this so that you have the paperwork too.
That makes sense. That makes sense. How do you feel about, we'll get into it a little bit. How do you feel about the Merle being introduced into the bully world? I know uh, first it was looked down on. They got more and more popular. ABKC made the decision they will go ahead and register them, but they can't show. From what
They've
I'm
always registered
understanding.
though. They have always
Oh,
registered.
okay.
They just
Okay.
couldn't. They just were always a DQ, but we would still give you, which is why BRC accepted them. So
Okay.
it was indeed. Well, I can't say indeed. I'm not friends with Kev Green, but it would make the most sense that it was a direct shot at ABKC when Kev opened up the opportunity to give Merles a home at BRC, and Kev has opened up BRC to give the XLs a home at BRC. BRC is currently the only registry that has XLs as its own breed. So we're not competing with pockets and standards and classics and all that. You're your own breed.
Let's get into that because I don't okay, remember we're gonna get back to Merle, but I'm glad you kind of brought that up because there was a breeder. We used to be cool. He can't stand me now, but you know who he is.
I do. I know. Yeah.
Okay, so he likes to go live. Daryl knows dogs, doesn't know bullies, blah 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 blah. Okay. Now I look at
right who this is.
Yeah, so I look at it like if I can do Chihuahuas to Rottweilers to Greyhounds, bullies is no issue. And so far, bullies have not been an issue. We've been getting what we want. We still got a ways to go to get where we want to get to, but every step is getting where we want to get to. But one of the things that I kept saying is that we as a bully breed have this expectation for the XL to look like the pocket. Mm-hmm. And this is not possible in dogs.
Well, even the standard, it's not possible for it to look like a 20-inch, a 19, 17-inch dog. It's not possible.
Exactly. And people will send me, I'll say this in the live, and then the next day I get flooded with pictures of XLs
that don't match it, right?
Well, they're supposed to look like pockets
because it's my dog and it's fire.
Exactly. And I'm like, okay, no, that doesn't match it. Look at what they're telling you the dog is supposed to look like. Right. Look at your dog. Look at your grand champions. They don't look like this. And of the dogs that do look like this, it's a sad situation. Mm-hmm. The dogs are not functional. Absolutely. They can do quick things that are powerful, but they can only do them for 10, 20 yards, and then it's a wrap.
Yeah.
So
let them out. Let your dogs out.
Yeah. We'll see, and that's my thing. And so I finally went live with the person. And
I was on that live.
Thing was, yes. And my whole thing with him was like, it was his thing. If I can let my dog out and it fetches the ball, will you just no longer say the things that you say on Facebook?
Sure. Where they at?
I was like, okay, cool. But the dog's got to bring the ball back with the same enthusiasm that it brought it. And I also want to see the dog do this at least 10 times. And then the subject got changed.
Right. You're asking too much.
So my thing is, how do you feel? And so now I know, here's the thing that I'm getting at. Dave Wilson did do it live. And this is why I kind of give him credit. One, he made the offer of working with XL breeders. What I think he's going to end up finding out as he works with these XL breeders, if that takes place, is that the things you're expecting aren't possible if you're wanting a healthy, functional dog. Mm-hmm. This other thing is they said we're going to do a separation between the classes. I think that has to be done in order for any breed to take our breed serious. And when I say separation, I mean, there's got to be a distance. You can't have the standard go from 17 to 20 inches. Then the XL goes from 20. Like, there's no breed done that way. There's a gap in between.
But we are a wow factor breed, so we can do whatever we want, Daryl.
Exactly. So now he says we're going to have a separation, but the separation is only going to be an inch. That is something else that doesn't exist within breeds. And what that tells me is rather than you taking and shooting the dice on losing people and pissing people off and having a true separation, what you're probably going to do is knock off an inch on each of the classes. That'll give you your separation. And most of the people that we're dealing with as breeders in the ABKC will still be satisfied. Because they are different breeds. The XL and the Pocket is not the same breed. They're still American Bullies, but they're not the same breed. Just like the Schnauzer, the Giant Schnauzer, the Standard, the Miniature. They're not the same breed. They're still Schnauzers, but they're not the same breed. How do you feel about that? And do you think that well, actually, you kind of covered the UKC. You feel they're not going to make a move until we have a breed club?
Oh, no, that's a fact.
Okay.
We literally can't do anything until we have a breed club, and we don't have enough support within the community to even make that happen. So that's where we're at a standstill. So there's plenty of people that are on board and want to do it, UKC people, but then the bully people, bully type dog breeders, right. ABKC people. So we'll just call them ABKC people because, there is a separation between a UKC dog and an ABKC dog. So the UKC people do indeed want to form this national breed club to make differences in the standard, to make it so that there are separations in varieties like we have in ABKC. Gotcha. But now the ABKC people won't support that because your dogs in UKC don't fit the standard. So I don't want you responsible for making this new standard.
Gotcha.
Now I don't really know if that's the argument, but that's
well, that's kind of the attitude that you see.
Right. That's me making it simple. That's really what it comes down to. I don't agree with the way you breed because your dogs look like Amstaffs. They don't look like Roccos. They don't look like Blues and Zeros and Samsons. They don't look like them. So that's not a bully. So you can't tell me what my dog should look like in UKC if your dogs don't look like that now. So, it's such a wide variety difference between people. And we can't get over it to save our dogs. That's really what it comes down to.
Right.
But yeah, we backtracked. Merles. We're going back to Merles. I don't have a problem with Merle. I think if we're going to accept them, this is the perfect opportunity for any and all registries to push health testing. So if you're going to breed Merles, you need embark testing. And you need the OFA's bear testing and care testing, which is eyes and ears, deafness and blindness. Okay. So as long as you submit those results with your parents, whatever, you get your results. You get your litter registration back because you've already there. Now nobody can say anything about your dogs and your Merle color because what we're worried about, you've now proved isn't an issue. So what's the problem? What's the problem?
So along those lines then, if my dog is Merle, right now, the bully community, it's a thing. You can't breed Merle to Merle, otherwise you are going to get these issues. I think the other one is don't breed Merle to piebald, don't breed Merle to all white dogs.
Right.
Now, people will bring up other breeds. And so like I try to explain to some people, the Catahoula, the wild dog in Africa, those are two Merle dogs. Yeah. But they also both have along with a lot of our Aussie dog, herding dogs.
Yeah.
They all have, with the Merle gene being a modifier, those dogs naturally have a genetic modifier that modifies the Merle gene, which is why it doesn't affect them as much. Now, when I talk to, I don't know that the Alapaha has this modifier. I don't think it does. But when I talk to Alapaha breeders, because I actually know two, we actually have one around the corner from us. But his whole thing is a blue eye lets me know no more breeding Merle to Merle. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't do any testing. If he gets a blue eye, then he knows he's not going to go any further. Yep. Happened to catch him while his buddy was with him, and his buddy's thing was two blue eyes. If I see two blue eyes, then I know not to breed Merle to Merle. So watching them drinking beers and watching them have this argument was a great thing. Another thing they were saying is if I notice the Merle pattern around the eyes, around the ear, I won't breed to another Merle that has the pattern around the eyes, around the ear. So, and they're successful with their breedings by going by this. So it kind of lets me know,
What
okay,
are
maybe
they?
in
Are they?
Galapagos.
I know, but
Well,
are they? Would he tell you that I've produced?
they would. These two guys would, because they can just care less. They
Okay.
work their dogs, and that's all their breedings are about.
Okay.
But it also led me to believe maybe there is a modifier in the Galapagos. It's just that when you look up that modifier, the Galapagos doesn't come up. In the bullies, we know for a fact that modifier is not present. You know what I mean?
Correct.
So when it comes to the Merle and the Merle gene, is it just, and I think that's my question, is it just about not breeding Merle to Merle? Or is it something that dogs who are Merle, we can find out later as they hit 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, this Merle gene does do something else to them that we have no idea.
Well, that's where I am. I don't care what you breed. I don't care what you do. The gene itself is a scary gene. And now coming into a breed, we have our own issues. We don't need to now be mixing and adding new things, but it's here. It's not going anywhere. So now is the opportunity for the registries to demand a little more. They require it. They don't require it. They say it. ABKC on their code of ethics says that a breeder will only breed to health tested and the most healthiest dogs. They'll use contracts. I don't remember everything else they say, but that's a legality. They just have to say that. It's on there. So no one can ever say, well, they didn't tell me that.
Right.
They don't really care. You can't show your dog with us, but we're gonna send us that litter registration. Here's your litter papers. Go ahead and breed. Send me those next ones too. But you don't want us to breed. You don't want us here, but you're going to continue to give us paperwork so we can do what you're telling us you don't want us to.
Got you.
Which is where BRC came in. So now BRC is opening the door to the Merle community saying, we will register you. We will let you show. You have a Merle, come to our show. We want to see you here. We want to see you here. If you have a nice dog, we want to see you here. And that's really what it comes down to for a show aspect. I'm not even talking about breeding because it just scares me just from what I vaguely know. I won't put a Merle in my yard for 10, 15 years. I need to know what it's doing long term.
To these other, and that is like we ended up we have one Merle. We haven't used her yet. My thing with the Merle, and I don't know that we're gonna use her, that we're just not, and I know it's supposed to be all kinds of money involved, but my thing is, if we don't have the space, then she kind of crowds what we need to do because, and it's like I had a training session with a family, a husband and wife that are getting into band dogs, and Merle came up, and like I explained to them, you're breeding band dogs, so this dog is for performance. Which means you need to be breeding best performer to best performer. What you don't want to have happen is you get a Merle because you like the look, that Merle turns out to be your best performer, and next thing you know, you got another Merle that is your best performer, and you can't even breed them together. So now you're stuck. And I was like, so you can't get into color when it comes to performance. When it comes to the Merles and in your yard, and like you're saying, you're not looking at it until, when you say you're not looking at it for 15 years and you're not even worried about performance, you are saying that you want to see, this ain't just about the color of the puppy.
Correct.
How does this dog develop as an adult?
Yeah.
Got you. Is there anything about Merle that can possibly hamper these dogs?
We don't know. We don't know how it will affect in the bullies. So that there's not enough.
Got you.
And that's my issue. So now, because health testing and everything is getting more popular, in our breed. Like now I just want more people to jump on board and do the bare minimal. Like the bear testing and care testing is literally like $30, folks, for each test. You literally, you can't go wrong there. And it's your own bragging rights. So I breed Merles and look, they're tested, they're clear. Like, what's the problem now? Now I can charge my $15K, whatever your price tag is.
Exactly.
But then you're making history too, because you're one of what, 6, maybe 5? That might even be high of Merle breeders that are indeed health testing. And then get them out into the show and get some titles, because guess what? You're going to be one of the first, if not the first. So it's just, there's ways to be making history and making your mark for this breed that isn't just how much you're selling puppies for.
Exactly. So how do you, or actually, I'll let you explain it. Merle, we know no Merle to Merle.
Yeah.
Merle to white, Merle to piebald.
It's still dilute.
What is the?
So it's
okay,
a scary.
So explain that genetically.
It's still just scary. So even Praise being heavily white, piebald, there's a risk of her being deaf and passing that on. She's been tested for both and fine, but those are tests that I have to do on every puppy as well, because of the heavy dilute color there. That loss of pigmentation causes issues. So you just kind of have to stay on top of it. Yeah.
Okay. And Beth B said, no, yeah. I was just looking at that. Okay.
That was a long time ago. Why'd that just pop up? Thanks, Beth. Did he just close us out? I think he just closed us out. Good. I've been missing comments, so maybe I can still talk. I don't know. Oh, good. He's come back. Okay.
I forgot to warn you about that. For some reason, and even my people in that are always watching me on Tuesdays, they'll tell me, you got 5 minutes, it's going to kick you out. Because right at an hour and 20 minutes, it just kicks me out for some reason.
Okay.
But so when it comes to the piebald, so piebald comes with a possible issue of eyes and ears.
Yep. Any lack of pigmentation is an issue.
Got you. And for people, the lack of pigmentation and melanin is, as puppies, helps them develop the eyes and the ears, and that's why Merle can cause a lot of problems for that, and that's why piebald can cause a lot of problems with that.
They're super pretty. They're definitely pretty dogs. They're eye-catching. I get it, but there are risks involved. So, there's just small steps for $30-$40. I was just at an AKC show last weekend, and there was a OFA health testing there. And I was on live, like, for the prices. It literally was like $25 for the bear, the ear tests. And I think it was $35. It might have been cheaper than that. For the
bear is the ear test, care is the eye test.
Correct.
Okay. And they're showing you, and this is showing you genetically what's just going on with the ears and the eyes.
Correct. Yes.
Does Embark cover that also?
Well, so Embark covers there's 4 retina diseases, but not necessarily like pigment things. So things can still be different. You would want an ophthalmologist to look at the eyes. You would want a orthopedic. Pause. Let me get my shit together. You would want an orthopedic surgeon of sorts, specialist, to look at their hips and elbows. Your regular vet can't do that stuff. So it's like a regular eye exam when we go and they squirt your eye. They do the dilution drops and stuff.
Okay.
They do that to the dogs. Just look and make sure that there's nothing sketchy in there. So for $30, 25, 40, whatever it is, it's under $100, like way under $100.
There you go. Real quick, Trap Spot Bullies. You're asking about your first litter. That is something that can go on for forever. What I would suggest, I don't know when you're having the litter. Next Tuesday, I'll be back live again with the normal lives. And then you can ask that question and we will go into depth with it. Other than that, what I would say is, I know you're on YouTube, join the Giant XL American Bully group. Scroll to the top of the group. There's a guide section. When you click on that guide section, I have nonstop information on just about everything that you could think of. It's
Facts.
categorized, and it will definitely go into your first litters, what to do with pups, things like that. But next Tuesday, we'll be live again. Or go ahead and hit me up in my inbox, and I got to get caught up tomorrow anyway. So hit me in my inbox, and I'll definitely, go through the things that you need to be prepared and things like that, and we'll go from there. So that is interesting though, that we have to. So no Merle. Now what about? Okay, now that's another question. White. Is white the same thing as piebald? Is it the same issue? If I've got a white dog, but it's got a black nose, dark eyes, dark around the eyes, is that the same issue? When we're talking about ears and eyes, huh?
Are dogos tested? Yes.
Dogos,
yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So not all of them, but yeah.
Well, they should all be. They should all be. So
and it's due to the white.
Yeah.
Got you. That makes sense. And what else? Let's see, hold on. There's a difference between carrier and at risk. They have to carry 2 variants of the disease to be at risk. If they carry only 1 copy, they're only a carrier. That's why the health test is important. So if you have a carrier, you want to make sure you go to a clean female or even just a carrier. Exactly. Wait a minute.
So if you have a carrier, nope.
If you have a carrier, you don't want to go to another carrier. Yeah, exactly. Now, let me ask you this. I was reading, this was probably about a month ago, and I wish I could think of the vet's name, but he is doing a lot of research on, one thing that he's doing is he's pushing for breeds to open up their standards. I agree with him, and I just never knew how to really word it. But when you limit a dog to 2 inches, you say the XL can only be 20 to 23 inches. And what he's saying is our breed standards are limiting. Go for breed type, but quit doing so many things that limit the actual dogs, because those dogs that are 24 inches, they bring you more genetic variation. And he's saying the way the standards are written for a lot of breeds, that we're losing, because it's so much on size and the appearance, we're losing a lot of genetic variation. We're shrinking our gene pools. He was pointing out that because of these standards, we have introduced approximately 400 different diseases to dogs that were not previously there. He then went on to talk about health testing. And one of the things he was saying about health testing, and it's kind of like what you were saying, is that people need to just use it as a tool. But also, he said, with health testing, so many breeders, they're seeing an issue and they're saying, I'm not going to breed that dog.
Right.
Next thing you know, you're shrinking the gene pool and you're starting to create even more diseases because the gene pool has shrank. Okay, so you're in agreement with that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
This is why I said, so the problem is it's so new to us that we're going to have failing scores and subpar scores. Like, this is why it's important, though, is so that we can just breed better. So know that if you breed 2 carriers together, you're going to have 100% carrier litter. So, and you'll probably get some affecteds out of that. Like, you just may, because you're now breeding the 2 different genes that are needed there. So to make it an issue. So, you can do whatever you want for the Frankenstein moment of building the perfect dog, but there's consequences to things. So with these tools, these health testing tools, it just makes your play a little better. Just to be able to say, I really like that female, but I know she's affected with something. So this male is a carrier. I literally can't breed them together.
So it's not about just getting the test done. It's also about understanding what the test is saying and how it affects the breed and the dogs. Exactly. Let me ask you this. A few people asked you, we're going to wrap it up. Is there anything you wanted to bring on when it comes to the contracts, when it comes to health testing? Anything you wanted to add to that?
I mean, there's so much to say about contracts. The problem is so many contracts are up to interpretation, which is literally your problem. The way, and I just had a conversation, it wasn't about contracts though, but somebody said something about I think it was in your group. I don't remember. Something about, is it really politics in the show ring or something?
Okay.
But it's all about interpretation. So what you read it as is not how I meant it when I wrote it. And I'm going to have a valid reason for how, when I wrote it, she was clearly thinking straight. It makes sense how she thought it, but you interpreted it another way that obviously made sense too. So guess what? Now we have to go to court. Well, neither one of us are really going to go to court. So now we're just going to go to Facebook and slander the shit out of each other and hope that we can find people that hate each other. It's unnecessary. So a solid contract that is loophole free is only going to be found with me, by the way. It just matters. Like that communication, things that you think are common sense things should still be mentioned. So I think that's part of a lot of my clientele that come to me are, hey, can you look this contract over for me? Or it's the, hey, I have a really big problem and I need you to help me. How do I get out of this?
There you go. And then let people know before we get off of here, you guys, there is no such thing as American Bully Micro. I know there's people coming up. I keep seeing it pop up in the comments. I know that there's a guy that has the micro American or the miniature American Bully. The problem with that is I doubt UKC is going to use the names Pocket and XL. And the Pocket will more than likely be your miniature American Bully. I don't think the UKC is going to go along. Those are 1990s clothing terms. So in order for people to take the American Bully serious, the words XL will probably be gone. The words miniature will probably be gone.
It'll go to giant.
I mean, the words, the Pocket, it'll be Pocket, Standard, Giant. And so the little miniature American Bullies that are running around.
Toy. It'll be a toy.
Well, okay, bam. They'll be the toy. There you go. So they can be toys. But as of right now, the miniature American Bully is more than likely going to end up being the Pocket. So that'll all get worked out in the wash, I guess, later down the line.
There is a micro, though, just so you know. Micro exotics are at BRC.
Micro exotics. Okay, so BRC has micro exotics. I've seen the
and
micro
standard
exotics.
Yes.
And they have standard exotics. Okay, so they actually classify. Okay, so but there's no micro American Bullies at all. If somebody's coming up with that, it needs to stop. There's nothing legitimate
double
called
XL pit bulls. It's the same
exactly.
thing.
There you go.
The sales pitch. It doesn't mean anything.
Exactly. Where can people find Heather, Prince Charmer, when it comes to social media, websites, etc.?
Oily Drop Bullies is your best bet. We're Oily Drop Bullies on everything. On Facebook and Instagram. Yeah. We're easy to find.
So check her out. She is on Instagram at Oily Drop Bullies. She's on Facebook as Heather Oily Drop Bullies Michele.
Yep.
And make sure you guys check her out.
They gotta type a lot to find me the personal page.
If you type Oily Drop Bully, she's coming up. You know what I mean? She is coming up. There is no other one. I want to thank you for being on. Again, this is Heather, Michele of Oily Drop Bullies with the most awarded XL American Bullies in the conformation ring. One of my favorite XLs, Prince Charmer. I always brag about them. I always use them as examples for stuff. You're a good supporter. I like what you're doing with them. And so I have no choice. You know what I mean? It could have been somebody else, but they didn't have that dog. So It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? And she produced him. He wasn't just bought. Other than that, I will be back next Tuesday. I know I missed a few Tuesdays. We were hunting, and I'm back. So
no more slacking. Not allowed to slack.
Exactly. And we are back. You have anything else to say?
I don't. I'm good. This was a good one.
For sure. I want to thank you for joining on with me.
Thank you.
All right, cool. We are out.
Bye, guys.